Welcome to attendance policy training for Ednovate. This presentation will go over the basics of the attendance policy and go into some of the procedures, but it won't be a full run through of the entire attendance policy. So any further details that you need as you're implementing this policy, you can click on the slides to view the entire attendance policy, which can also be found in the Ednovate Operations Center. So diving right into the details, if a student is late to school, if it's less than a minute, it's 1 demerit. If it's a 1 to 30 minutes, it's 2 demerits. If it's greater than 30 minutes, it's 3 demerits. Any student who arrives at school late needs to go to the office first and get a pass before going to class. And any of the excuses under excused absences also apply to excused tardies, which we'll get to shortly. Excessive tardiness, a habitual pattern of truant tardies, which is more than 30 minutes. You could choose to follow the same process as you would for truant absences, which we'll get to soon. If a student has excessive tardies that aren't considered truant, so those tardies that are less than 30 minutes, or maybe 5 or 10 minutes for late for school, pretty often, there aren't defined interventions here. They aren't legally defined by the state of California, but it is best practice to talk with the student, talk with the parents, figure out what's going on, and help them to problem solve. So unexcused absences are marked as such. The code is AU and Illuminate. Unless an excuse note is provided within 48 hours of the absence. If there's no excuse note within 48 hours, then the absence can no longer be excused, and that can't be a verbal excuse. It has to be in writing. So you mark it as an unexcused absence until a note is received. Excused absences, these are most of the reasons. There are a few more listed in the full attendance policy. But illness can always be excused, quarantine, doctor's appointments, funeral, jury duty, medical services, court or religious observance. And anytime that there's a gray area, the principal can, at their discretion, excuse any absence. So if you're ever not sure about whether to excuse an absence, you can ask your principal and they can use their best judgment to make that call. And absences with a note are then changed to absence excused and Illuminate by the office. So for excused absences, like noted before, if it's 1 to 2 excusable absences, the note needs to be received by the legal guardian within 48 hours. If it's 3 or more consecutive excusable absences, then a doctor's note or other official documentation needs to be received within 48 hours. And if you choose to send home the letter requiring verification, then it always needs to be a doctor's note or other official documentation with 48 hours, which we'll touch on more. So legally, makeup work does have to be provided for any excused absences or absences due to suspension. Legally, makeup work does not have to be provided for unexcused absences, but that doesn't mean that makeup work cannot be provided for unexcused absences to help the student catch up. The first set of letters and interventions that we'll go through is called absent without leave due to excessive unverified absences, sometimes called AWOL for short. This is when a student has been absent consecutively with no contact from the student or family during that time. This most commonly happens at the beginning of the year when students have enrolled in another school but haven't let us know yet, but this process can be implemented at any point throughout the school year if this occurs. So the process is that the school calls the family and logs that in either Illuminate or Dean's List every day, just as usual. And on the 3rd day of consecutive absences with no contact, you send the first notification letter, continue to call. On the 6th day, you send the second notification letter saying that we haven't heard from you. Please get in touch with us if you'd like your student to still be enrolled, etc. And on day 10, the last withdrawal letter is mailed to the family, letting them know that if they don't respond, then their student will be withdrawn from the school. And then the student can be withdrawn from Illuminate a week after that letter is sent. The student is considered chronically absent if they've been absent from school for 10% or more of the school year, and that's excused or unexcused at any point in the school year. The letter that we have for chronic absenteeism requires families to provide official medical or judicial verification to excuse an absence for a student. So this means that the legal guardian, the parent, can no longer excuse absences. It has to be an official note from the doctor, religious leader, etc. Truancy. So a student is considered truant when they have an unexcused absence or tardy. The unexcused tardy has to be more than 30 minutes in order to be considered truant, and any combination of those absences or more than 30-minute tardies, unexcused, counts towards truancy. And that mark starts at 3 school days in the year when a student is first considered truant. So the process of letters and interventions follows how many truancy events that they have. So after the first 3 truancy events, that's unexcused absences or unexcused tardies that are more than 30 minutes, the first truancy letter is sent home. And then each letter after that escalates in its seriousness and with the meeting paired to it. After 3 truancy notifications after the first letter, the second letter is sent with a request for a meeting, and that meeting includes the student and parent, the advisor, member of the ops team, and optionally the principal or social worker or counselor, depending on the student's case. If the issue continues, then a third letter is sent 3 truancy events after the second letter was sent, and this is when a student is considered habitually truant. And all of these should include a copy of the student's attendance report as well. The third letter is a request for a SART meeting, which is the student, parent, advisor, member of the ops team, principal, and then optionally the social worker or counselor. An attendance contract is developed then, and a plan is developed with the family to problem solve, figure out what the root of the issue is, provide any resources that we can, and express the importance of the student being in school every day. And then any additional truancies after that third letter is a letter that includes the SARB referral. So the SARB is everyone who was in the SART meeting plus a member of the Ednovate support team. And another contract and plan is developed with the student, and resources are provided as necessary to support the student and family. So a little bit more about SART and SARB meetings. The SART meeting is held at the school, and you want to find a time that works really well for the parent to really encourage them to come. You really want it to feel like you're on the same team and like you're problem solving together, but also expressing the seriousness of the situation and the importance of the student being in school every day. And then the SARB is similar with a member of the support team there to add any additional context. And you can always bring in other people that aren't on these lists as well, other people that the student is close to, or maybe a special education teacher if the student has an IEP, just depending on the situation. And the contracts developed at both of these meetings are then put into the student's CUME file. So preparing for a SART meeting, you want to arrange the date with the family and all team members that are being participating, a translator if that's needed. You mail the SART letter home and collect any documentation that's going to be helpful for the SART conversation, so you're really having a holistic conversation of how attendance is impacting the student's performance. And that could be the student's Schoolzilla profile, a Dean's List report, Illuminate grades. And you'll want to coordinate with all team members in the SART meeting, providing them those materials and any other context that you have. In the SART meeting, It's recommended to begin by introducing everyone, verify the family's contact information in case that's changed, and start with a strengths discussion to start the meeting off on a positive note and to help the family and the student feel comfortable talking about the student's strengths and growth. And then the school will provide a presentation of the case from everything that they know so far and what's been tried so far. And then the family has a chance to talk about how what's been going on from their side, and then the real discussion starts, really trying to figure out what the root of the problem is and any resources that can be provided or should be provided, and discussing the attendance policy, attendance laws, any other consequences that could come down the line. And through that conversation, developing the attendance contract and plan together, having the family sign and an admin sign. So for the SART meeting, it's a very similar preparation process, just including the support team member in the preparation and making sure that everybody has context going in so that while the family is there, the best problem solving can happen. And then the agenda for the SART meeting is similar, but a little bit more formal. After the presentation of case and family input, the panel has a chance to ask questions and then deliberate on the final contract after getting input from the family and hearing what resources can be provided. And then there's a closing and recommendations. There's also a sample SARB contract and a sample SARB script that are linked here in the presentation and in the Ednovate Operations Center as well. And this is a helpful graphic to show families that even if a student hasn't had very many absences per se, if it's all in the beginning of the school year, it could be adding up quickly. So even if they only have a few absences in the first 25 days of school, that's already down to an 88% attendance rate. Or if about halfway through the school year at 100 absences, they already have 10 to 12, then they're kind of continuing on that trajectory of 88%. So just showing how every absence, even the beginning of the school year, really matters. Right now, there is not an option at LUSD or OCDE for participating in their SARB or truancy court processes. We will keep everyone updated if and when that changes. And there are links here for tracking attendance data, for informing the letters and the interventions, and directions for printing the attendance reports. And we will next go over how to record all of this in Illuminate and the daily and monthly procedures that go along with that. This is a quick reference guide to the different sets of interventions, so AWOL, chronic absences, and truancy, to give you a quick snapshot as a review if needed. Thank you.